Good morning, YouTube. 5:29 a.m. 5/1/2018. Happy May Day. It is still dark down at the lake. I do notice, though, just as I said that and looked up, it is daybreak. So, if you don't really know what daybreak is, please Google it. Alright, I'm old school, and I learned these things. People these days, I'm really sure, don't learn what a lot of us learn because, hey, there's an app for that, right? There's so many apps for this, that, and the other thing. Well, we didn't have apps back in the day, okay? We had to actually learn things. So, but this morning, because my life is so wrecked and feels so ruined most of the time, I was thinking about how my husband's second marriage, which was to Rebecca, was a forced marriage, or an arranged marriage, as I believe he also put it. And they may not even realize that that marriage is number two. I know our son realizes it because I mentioned it. Alright? But as far as his immediate family, which he lived with when he returned home from Vietnam, they may not realize it. His two sisters, brother, of course now though his parents are both R.I.P., rest in peace. He may not have felt comfortable with discussing this with them, and I can understand that. Alright? His first marriage, and I'm not even sure if he'd appreciate me talking about this and telling this side of his story or not, but hey, he's 70 plus years old. He's already had the 2 heart problems and needed his medications and the inhaler, and had been put on restriction of activity for that, and then the 2 heart problems, where they thought they lost him one time, and packed all his belongings. When he got back, he had to unpack, because they thought genuinely that he was a goner. So, I mean, time's short. It's one of those times where you wake up and smell the coffee and you realize there's just not enough hours in the day. And I don't even try to pack the activity that I packed into my days back in the day, up till 95. I get a big full list going, every single day. And it was from the time I got up till the time I went to bed, basically. And yeah, we get our TV time in because my mom came over, but it wasn't anything like now. Alright? This is very, very low activity level in here nowadays. So, but when he got married to wife number 1, Mei Ling, he'd already been so traumatized from marriage 1 and marriage 2, or marriage 2 and marriage 3, to Rebecca and Nancy, with all that went on with them then, that he was caused to forget all about marriage 1, which was Mei Ling. Okay, she had gotten killed. There wasn't a real demand on him remembering or keeping it in his mind that she existed, but it was like a total wipeout. And I don't know if that was deliberate on wife number 2 and number 3's part or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was, okay? I can see where they would feel like it would be in our best interest to make him forget her. You see? Not thinking further on down the road. Okay, so further on down the road, while we're there, her memory popped back up during a session at the VA. During hypnotherapy. That whole story came out. And he was instructed to journal it, which he did, to help in his recovery process. Okay? Even though she was R.I.P., the memory, when it cropped back up, it became an issue. Alright? Then you got the Marge Harlan thing. And I guess right now it's kind of seeming like I'm defending him. But keep listening. Maybe we'll get out of that feeling, okay? Maybe. I don't know. I don't mean to not defend him. I am somewhat defensive, but okay, bear with me. On his own accord, he was trying to save marriage number 3 to Nancy by going for marital counseling. I guess some people call it therapy, whatever. Marriage counseling. Alright, that's a whole nother story. But she used flooding on him, which is a brainwashing technique, and told him to go home to where he had a stepdaughter and wife number 3, and he was supposed to live out his fantasies with that stepdaughter. Alright. Then it was reported, of course, that he did something like 6 weeks in county jail, which they couldn't find later when I went to try to find documentation of that stay and of that incident. It was gone, alright? That's part of what they based the 95 thing on, was from the thing in 85. And I didn't even really want to chunk into this story, but I'm going there, so. But long story short, his stepdaughter was dating the judge's son. And she later disclosed what her and her mother had done was to take full advantage of the situation and say that he had raped her when he hadn't. Because I guess he went home and there at dinner, for instance. What'd you do at therapy this afternoon? Well, we talked about me living out my fantasies with, what's her face, Oh, well, that wouldn't fly too well with me. So anyway, after they got him in jail that length of time, she told, like I started to tell you, the son of the judge she was dating, and he turned around and told his dad. Okay, then of course, like I said, could find no documentation of him having been in there. And they did try to base at least part of that, because I did find evidence of them trying to use that in court when I got the files in 97. Okay, so back to number 1. He didn't try to get therapy then. Alright? It was an arranged marriage between her mom and his parents They were all in the same church up there. See, so much of this is church related. All right? Marriage 2, Rebecca. Marriage 3, Nancy. Both of them in the LDS church where he was, for at least a time, had priesthood. Okay? To me, in my mind, there's a difference between saying he was a priest and that he had priesthood. I'm not even sure why now. It's all been so crazy. So, she wanted to have a child. A second child. They had the first child. He was working 2 jobs. They weren't really doing all that well. And he realized a second child's just going to add to this load that I'm already carrying. Already working 2 jobs. It's going to kill me. So I guess he was talking to his buddies or something up there. I don't know. Maybe he did seek some advice from someone. They said, man, get out of there. Because he had picked up the phone. One time it was her girlfriend's. And overheard them discussing how she would get a second child. It was by rape that she got her second child. Fully her idea. Her plan was implemented against him and carried out. Do you think that's dirty? I think that's dirty pool. That's exactly what we would call dirty pool. Alright? Because he had already said, whoa, on the kids. 1 is plenty. Thank you very much. He was the one working. He was the main breadwinner. Why shouldn't he have a say whether they have one or not? And she bucked that decision. And she's not all that much younger than him. I believe there's something like 6 or so months difference in age. I'm quite a lot young. Nancy was older than him by quite a number of years. And I'm something like 14 years younger than him. So you see, he's gone from one end of the spectrum clear to the other end. The extremes that he's been through. Alright? She didn't have to take it as far as she did. And got knocked up on purpose. I think that's really, really wicked. Alright? So on the very day that this kid was born, he left. I don't blame him. Somebody wants to force me into marriage and then force me to have a child that I already stood up and told you in your face, no. All right, I'll see you through this pregnancy. That's it. That is it. And walked out. Went to Texas, and that's where, when he came back to this area, well, Missouri, is where he got wife number 2. And she was a humdinger. I'm going to have to do another screencast. A real humdinger with alcohol, even though a church lady. Just a total loop-de-loo. Okay, so I may as well stop this now and pick it up in a minute. Thanks for listening. I'll be back.